Welcome to Pop's Party Family, where fun and magic come alive. New videos and shorts every day. Let's laugh, learn, and play. Hey!
The man who predicted the end of the world. Because of horses. Part. What if someone told you the whole United States would disappear? Not because of aliens, not because of monsters, but because of horse poop? Sounds impossible, right? Well, one very smart man believed exactly that. Everyone laughed at him, until he explained his shocking reason. But was he completely wrong? Or did he accidentally teach the world one of the greatest lessons ever? Stay with us, because this funny, surprising, and unforgettable story has a twist you will never see coming. It was a warm summer morning in the small town of Maple Creek, Colorado. The bright sun filled the sky, birds sang happily, and colorful flowers danced in the gentle breeze. Grandma Grace, whom everyone lovingly called Grandma G, was busy making crispy homemade potato chips and fresh crackers in the backyard. Every summer, the whole family helped her prepare enough snacks for everyone. It had become a fun family tradition that everyone looked forward to. Just as Grandma G finished laying the crackers out to dry, dark clouds suddenly rolled across the sky. A loud rumble of thunder echoed overhead. Within seconds, big raindrops began falling everywhere. "Quick! It's raining!" shouted 12-year-old Mia as she laughed and ran across the yard. The family rushed in every direction. Some grabbed the snack trays, while others hurried to rescue their playful puppies and fluffy kittens that were happily splashing in muddy puddles. The yard quickly turned into complete chaos. One tiny puppy stole a cracker and ran around the porch while everyone chased him. A kitten jumped onto Grandpa Ben's hat and refused to come down. Little Ethan slipped into a muddy puddle, but stood up laughing with mud covering his face from head to toe. Even Grandma G couldn't stop laughing. "Next time," she joked, "I'm making waterproof crackers." Everyone burst into laughter as the rain poured harder. After everything was finally safe inside, the family gathered in the cozy kitchen. The smell of fresh rain mixed with warm chocolate cookies filled the house. Mia picked up a notebook and started doing math. "Let's see," she said seriously. "There are 6 of us. If everyone eats 5 crackers every day for 30 days, we'll need 900 crackers. And tomorrow, Uncle Mike's family is visiting. So Grandma G should make at least 1,000 crackers." Grandma G smiled and gently shook her head. "Oh, Mia," she laughed. "Life doesn't work like a math worksheet." Everyone looked at her with curious faces. She continued, "Maybe we'll eat lots of crackers today, but after a few days we might want popcorn instead. Maybe we'll visit Aunt Linda's house for dinner. Maybe we'll go camping. Or maybe your grandpa will secretly finish half the crackers before anyone notices." Grandpa Ben quickly hid the cracker he was already eating behind his back. Everyone laughed as he pretended to whistle innocently. Grandma G smiled again. "Your calculations remind me of a famous thinker who once believed the future would be ruined because there would simply be too many horses." The children stared at her in surprise. Ethan blinked several times before asking, "Wait, horses? Did they start a cowboy army?" Mia laughed. "Or maybe they opened the world's biggest horse school." Grandma G chuckled so hard that she nearly dropped her mixing bowl. "Long ago," Grandma G began, "in New York City, there lived a brilliant scientist named Professor George Carter. He was famous for predicting the future. City leaders often asked him how many schools, hospitals, roads, and homes America would need years from now. His clever ideas helped many people prepare for tomorrow. But even the smartest people sometimes forget one very important thing." The children leaned closer, eager to hear more. One busy morning, Professor Carter climbed into his horse-drawn carriage to visit the mayor's office. As usual, he was thinking so deeply that he barely noticed anything around him. Suddenly, traffic came to a complete stop. Horses neighed loudly, carriage drivers shouted, and people argued in the streets. Then a terrible smell drifted into the carriage. Professor Carter wrinkled his nose. "John," he called to his driver, "what in the world is that awful smell?" John answered without even turning around. "Horse poop, sir, and judging by today's traffic, a whole lot of it." Professor Carter froze. For the rest of the ride, he couldn't stop thinking about those simple words. Horse poop. By the time he reached City Hall, he had forgotten all about his important meeting. Instead, a frightening idea filled his mind. What if every year there were more horses, and more people, and even more horse poop? Could something so ordinary actually destroy an entire country? He hurried inside, desperate to share the shocking prediction that would leave everyone speechless. Professor George Carter hurried into City Hall without even noticing that his coat was buttoned the wrong way. He walked so fast that he accidentally bumped into a tall security guard. "Easy there, Professor," the guard laughed. "Did a horse chase you here?" George sighed and replied, "No, but a horse might destroy America one day." The guard scratched his head. "Well, that's a new one." Everyone nearby giggled as George rushed toward the mayor's office. Inside the waiting room, the mayor's assistant, Daniel Brooks, welcomed him with a warm smile. "Good morning, Professor Carter. I'm sorry, but the mayor has an emergency meeting. He'll be here in a little while." George nodded, but said nothing. Instead, he stood by the window, watching dozens of horse-drawn wagons moving through the busy streets of New York. Everywhere he looked, horses pulled carts, carried supplies, and transported families. The smell outside reminded him of the question spinning around in his mind. Daniel noticed that George looked worried. "Professor, you usually smile when you visit. Is something bothering you?" George slowly turned around with wide eyes. "Daniel," he whispered, "I think I just discovered a disaster that could wipe out our cities." Daniel almost dropped the papers in his hands. "A disaster? Is it a war? A giant storm? A volcano?" George shook his head. "No." He paused dramatically before saying, "Horse poop." Daniel blinked 3 times. "I'm sorry. Did you say horse poop?" George nodded seriously. "Think about it. Right now, thousands of horses travel through our streets every day. Rich families own horse carriages. Farmers use horses on their farms. Delivery workers use horses to carry goods. Soldiers ride horses, too. Every single horse leaves behind piles of manure every day. We clean it up now, but what about the future?" Daniel listened carefully. It sounded funny, but George's voice was completely serious. George grabbed a notebook and quickly began writing numbers. "Let's imagine there are 500 wealthy families in this city. One day their children will grow up and have families of their own. They'll buy more carriages and more horses. Soon there won't be 1,000 horses. There could be 10,000, then 50,000, then hundreds of thousands." George's eyes grew wider with every number he wrote. Daniel stared at the pages as the numbers became bigger and bigger. George continued excitedly. "Now imagine every horse leaving manure every single day. Where will all of it go? The empty land will disappear because people will build more homes, schools, and farms. The streets will become dirty. Rivers could become polluted. Bad smells would fill every town. Diseases could spread everywhere. Families might become sick. Businesses could close. Cities might become impossible to live in." George looked exhausted after explaining his frightening prediction. Daniel quietly walked to the window and looked outside. Horses filled almost every street. For a moment, George's prediction sounded possible. Then Daniel smiled. "Professor, your math is excellent, but I think you're forgetting something very important." George looked surprised. "What could I possibly be forgetting?" Daniel replied, People are clever. We don't just solve today's problems, we invent tomorrow's solutions. Daniel laughed and pointed outside. Long ago, people walked everywhere. Then someone invented wagons. After that came horse carriages. Who knows what people will invent next? Maybe one day we'll have machines that move without horses. Maybe trains will carry hundreds of people at once. Maybe we'll even build flying machines. George chuckled for the first time all day. Flying people? He asked with a grin. Daniel smiled back. Years ago, even horse carriages sounded impossible. Just then, the mayor walked into the room and overheard the last few words. Flying machines? He laughed. Well, if someone invents that, I promise I'll be the first passenger. Everyone laughed together. Even George couldn't help smiling. Deep inside, he realized Daniel had given him something even more valuable than numbers: hope. Maybe the future wasn't something to fear. Maybe it was something people could create with imagination and hard work. Many years later, Daniel's words proved true. Trains, automobiles, airplanes, and many other inventions changed transportation forever. Horses were no longer needed in the huge numbers George had imagined. His prediction never came true, not because his math was bad, but because human creativity changed the future in ways no one could have predicted. George thought horse poop would end civilization, but one simple idea changed everything. The future is never fixed because people keep inventing better solutions. Moral of Part A: planning ahead is smart, but never forget the power of creativity, innovation, and hope. The biggest problems often inspire the greatest inventions. End of Part A.
Thank you for watching. We're so glad you're here. Like, share, subscribe, and spread the cheer. Join the Hop Street family today. See you next time.